My name is Ignatius, heavyweight boxer. Make sure you like, subscribe, and follow this channel for the latest and upcoming news in the boxing world.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast with myself, Tom Rust. And today, absolutely delighted to be joined by Franklin Ignatius. How you doing, mate?
Yeah. All good, man. Thank you. Just a good day so far, man.
Yeah, good stuff. Thank you for jumping on. We only spoke a couple of days ago, so thank you for jumping on. Only giving you short notice, and Happy New Year to you.
Thank you, man. You too.
I don't know when to stop saying Happy New Year. What are we? I think we're the 12th today. Is it too late now?
I think anyone I've seen the month of January, I'm gonna say Happy New Year for the first time I've seen you. Happy New Year. Do you know what I mean? I'm just gonna keep rolling it.
Yeah,
keep on going, man.
People just shut you down, I suppose. How was your New Year and Christmas? Did you let yourself have a little bit of time off, or was you quite sort of strict in that respect?
I mean, I stayed in the gym training most of the time. I was still sparring, but I did have like family time, family dinner, things like that, which was good. Spent some time with my loved ones and that, and yeah, man, it was good. But I basically stayed training, to be honest. So it was a funny one. I'd go far for a run or something and come back and eat, or train and do home circuits and then relax afterwards. But I just kept on ticking over, really. And
what about Christmas Day? Do you allow yourself a Christmas dinner, or?
Yeah, but listen, I ate good, man. Don't never get that twisted. I was definitely eating well.
I was going to say, looking at the size, you don't look like you're going hungry.
Nah, I'm not missing no meals.
Quality, mate. Listen, we know that I imagine probably due to the pandemic and shows not being on, you've been obviously inactive over the last couple of years. But for people that are new to the channel, new to yourself, talk to us about your pro career so far.
Sure, man. I mean, at the minute it's going well. I'm 2-0, 1 KO. I turned pro on a Matchroom card at the end of 2019. And then due to pandemic, went through a lot of changes. And I literally just had my return match almost 2 years to the day on November 19th, sorry. That just went. So I've been back now. I intend to stay that way. And my next one is in 4 weeks, February 12th.
And we're still waiting on an opponent for that one. I looked on your box rec today. I couldn't see anything. Is that still speaking?
Yeah, I believe so. There's no opponents. I mean, I don't know why, but we're having a bit of difficulty at the minute. But I'm sure my team will sort it out, man. I got a good team, people that are working hard. So I'm sure they'll get that sorted. My job's for getting ready regardless.
Yeah, you just got to concentrate on getting in there and knocking people out, I suppose. But how difficult was it over that period? To stay focused, stay disciplined. It
was extremely challenging. I'm not even going to lie to you. There's no point sugarcoating it. You don't know when you're fighting. You don't know what's going on, and obviously a lot of people that were supporting you are still supporting you, but they don't. But there's no way for them to really, see or touch base with you. We're all in lockdown. So for me, it was really difficult. But luckily, I had a good support system around me, and they kind of encouraged me to stay in the gym and keep going and keep training, and even doing home workouts. But I remember there was one point, it was difficult to just motivate yourself to wake up and train every day because you had nothing to look forward to. So it was a really challenging time, and I'm sure for the whole country, it was a challenging time. But, I'm just glad it's over. There's a bit of rumors going around, but I don't think we're going back to lockdown. I'll stay optimistic, put it that way.
Yeah, let's remain optimistic. I hope we don't. But yeah, we've spoken to a lot of fighters because for obvious reasons, and that they're saying where there's so much uncertainty, not as much now, but over the last couple of years, people were reluctant to even buy tickets because the chances were that they would be the shows would be cancelled anyway.
1,000,000%. I think it's still something of a gamble, really, every time. And obviously, even from the fight art, it's still a situation of, let's say you sell a ticket or you sell a fight. You sell tickets for a fight and you have a good turnout, or for whatever reason that fight gets cancelled for something that's completely out of your control. You're not going through the whole headache and stress of trying to refund however many people turned up. And if you've got a good fan base, and I'm blessed enough that a lot of people do support me and invest in me, returning those tickets ain't always easy. But you got to do what you got to do, It's part of the game. But I'm optimistic that, we're just going to keep rolling and keep the ball rolling this year.
No, of course, we often hear from fighters, like including yourself, without a date, it's hard to train not knowing when you're actually going to be in the ring. And I suppose it's difficult as well, because without a date, how do you know exactly, how do you know how hard to train at any given point?
Exactly that. And it becomes a situation of even managing when to peak, because you can't, like, it sounds mythical, it sounds ideal in a theoretical world, but in the real world, you can't be on all year. It's not possible. You need peaks and throws. So for that to happen, you kind of need to have a schedule. But when that's kind of impossible, you basically just keep going until your body shuts down on you. And then you pick yourself up at whatever point you're at, and then you go right back to it. And that's kind of what it was in COVID. But I think now that there's more of a structure, there's more of a regime, I'm looking forward to obviously that showing on Fight Night.
Yeah, I imagine, physically it's difficult to get yourself up and then stop and then get yourself up, and also psychologically as well, to mentally prepare and then stop and then get in that, frame of mind to get in fight mode again. Exactly.
It's just very draining, so, but all about hurdle, but yeah, it was definitely a very draining period.
I understand as well that you started boxing at 18?
Yes, so I started boxing at 18. I didn't have my first fight till I was 19. And I'm 26 now, so yeah, I guess I've been boxing for 7 years.
How did that come about then? Because you're not old by any means at 18, but to find a sport at that age, did you do much before that, or we often hear...
A little bit. I did powerlifting before that. I did all right. I was in the London Youth Games when I was 16, but I didn't do much of sports besides that. But I have to, I got into boxing through Stephen Addison in Box of Crime, who's still a big supporter of mine today. And he's kind of helping me with these little shows as we're fighting. And he kind of encouraged me, saw that I had talent, and encouraged me to keep going. And, I just kept doing my thing, really. And now we're here.
Something I wanted to ask you as well, we often hear about how dangerous boxing can be. And unfortunately, occasionally we see boxers, injured or, worst case scenario, lose their lives. But on the flip side to that, we often hear about, amount of lives boxing saves. Now, you've been around gyms, a boxer yourself. How much of that have you seen personally?
100%. I think a lot of, especially the guys that are focused in boxing, and even the guys that are just using it as a way to keep going. I see a lot of good people in the sport. And one thing about boxing is it doesn't care about your ethnicity or where you're from or what job you do or your background. It's welcoming to everybody. So over the years in the boxing gym, I think I've met people from all walks of life. Do you know what I mean? And we all come together in the shared love of the sport, of the game. And it's like, I think it's a great thing. I think sometimes we get caught up in the danger of things, but you forget you could die crossing the street. Life is not guaranteed for nobody. Do you understand? Every day you wake up, it's a small miracle. So the way I see it, if life is such a fragile thing, you might as well spend it doing something that you love. And in my case, I happen to obviously be...
Sorry, you cut out a little bit then.
Oh yeah, I was saying, life's fragile, and I think ultimately, since one day is not promised, instead of trying to always look for making everything safe, I might as well spend it doing something I love. And for me, boxing and this pugilistic arts, I guess you could say, is where I fall in love and what I get joy out of. So I don't pay attention to people talking about the danger of things. There's no need for that. No point.
Yeah, I suppose for yourself, being a boxer, getting in there when the objective is to knock someone out, you've just got to go in there. I suppose if you're worried about that too much, I suppose you probably wouldn't be doing it in the first place.
I think it's a self-confidence thing as well, because on one hand, you know well that anybody can get caught, nothing's ever guaranteed, but at the same time, you trust in your training, you trust in your preparation, and you also believe in what you're capable of. And I think that's where your confidence comes from. There's always a certain level of caution, and you can even say almost a healthy respect for your opponent and what he's capable of, because I think anyone who goes into a ring thinking, oh yeah, it's going to be a cakewalk, it's crazy. You go in there and you focus on the job at hand, and your focus is what makes it easy, if that makes sense.
No, no, of
So,
course. I totally appreciate, what you're saying. You've got to be confident in what you're doing rather than
100%.
worrying about too much what the other person's doing. But at
No
the same
confidence, no
time,
game. No
but
confidence, no game. You got to love it.
but you can't neglect, like you say, well, what's coming back. And talking about preparation for your next fight, what about sparring? Have you been doing much of that yet, or is that going to come the next couple
Yeah,
of
I've
weeks?
been sparring since before Christmas. Yeah, I've been sparring before Christmas. I was sparring with Fisher. I've shared quite a few rounds with him. Good guy. Then we sparred Marius Wack as well, a veteran of the game, and is going in there, learning a lot off of him, seeing how he does certain things and grabbing that experience. And really and truly, it's been pretty much consistent for me. I'm sparring again this week, and I'm continue sparring up until probably the end of Jan, early Feb. And yeah, for me, there's no really, like I said, there hasn't really been since I started fighting in November, I didn't really take any breaks per se. And I've just continued going with sparring and training as normal.
Yeah, you're in a great division. Like you say, you've been sparring Johnny Fisher. Obviously, he's making a lot of noise in the heavyweight division at the minute. Did you spar White as well?
No, I never got the chance to spar him. I think that's still something that will have to happen sometime. During the pandemic, I shared rounds with Wardley, shared rounds with Dubois, I shared rounds with a few folks, David Adelaide and things like that. But I've never sparred White, and I think that's something that would be great just for me to learn and see what he's about and see what I'm about in that situation as well.
And how important is it for you to get in with those sort of guys that, I suppose have had a few more fights than yourself, just because, like you say, you started at 18 to sort of get those sparring rounds under your belt. Are you learning, lots from the sparring, and you got any good sparring stories?
1,000,000%. I think for me, this stage of my career is all about learning. So I've tried to be a sponge in the gym. I try to be a student of the sport and go home and study what I can. And just apply myself every day. Every day I apply myself. When it comes to the sparring and things like that, the more I can learn, the better for me. I'm not in there trying to say, oh yeah, like I do damage when there's the occasion needed, and I go there to comport myself to the best of my ability. But at the same time, I'm there to learn. Anything that I'm dealing with, I'm learning from it. So yeah, it's definitely good for me, and I welcome all of it. To be honest, I welcome all of it.
Yeah, I think with sparring as well, as much as what you're getting out of it, it's all about what like you say, when you're sparring people like Johnny Fisher, he wouldn't have you in there if you weren't causing him a few problems and making him think about what he's doing as well.
Of course. And at the end of the day, he's like, it's not just about me being work for him, he's work for me as well. That's the reason I'm happy to call him back, and he's happy to call me back, because we both know whenever we're getting in the ring with each other, especially when he's fit and I'm fit, the work is always good. It's beneficial. I know, okay, if I'm getting Fisher in, it's good for me. Bring him back. Do you know what I mean? I'm benefiting off of him getting ready for a fight. I know he's going to be charged up. I know I'm charged up. I've got a fight coming up. So the work benefits both of us.
Of course, yeah, it's got to be beneficial for both parties. And looking at your stable, we had Jordan Perkis on the channel last week. Great young lad. We had the pleasure.
The Punisher.
He was telling me. I spoke to him earlier, and he was telling me something about water bottles. You like to open one and leave it around, and open another one.
Man, listen, man. Me and water, there's a love relationship there, man. I have to drink water. If you know H2O, don't miss it. You need it. I love it, man. I love to drink. It's just I have a bad tendency to forget things sometimes, but we learn.
Something about hand wraps as well.
Listen, man, those hand wraps have been all over the place.
Oh no, I just sent him a little message. I was like, look, mate, if just send me something light-hearted over, so I can bring it up with him on the interview. But I can just imagine all these bottles of water around. But the size of you, I don't imagine there's many people in there that are going to moan too much.
You say that, my coach, he's always moaning. He loves me, really. That's ready to kill me.
Yeah, that's probably the one person though that can tell you a few things, and you've just got to nod and agree. But no, it sounds like a great environment. I think you got OD in there as well. So yourself, is it Hannah Rankin that trains there as well? Yeah,
definitely. Again, bundles of experience, learning, and I think me and her, we have a great relationship because she's a boxing mind as well. So numerous times, like, we'll trade ideas and trade like students, and she'll send me, oh, watch this, and I'll think, okay, let me see this, and I'll send her something, and it's all learning for me. Being around people like that, I'm benefiting just as much.
Like you were saying
yeah,
earlier, it's literally like a sponge, just soaking up as much knowledge as possible.
100%.
What's a stereotypical day look like for you then? Obviously, you're not that far away from the fight. Is it a couple of sessions a day, a bit of weights in between?
Yeah, I normally do 2 sessions daily, to be honest. Normally 2. I wake up, get cracking, have a banana, whatever, 2 of them or something, get straight to the gym. Normally 2 hours, 2.5 hours of work. After that, that's with boxing. After that, go home, have a shake, eat again, rest, then wake up again probably 2-3 hours later, get to the gym, and it's either S&C work or I do running. Run a good while. And I do that pretty much 4, 5, 6 days a week, depending on the week. And I do it up until the fight. And then from White Week, it starts to dial down a bit.
Everything going so far so good for the fight coming up in February?
Definitely. I think, to be honest, I'm expecting, my last performance was good. I'm expecting an even better performance next time. I think the 2 years off, coming back into the ring, there was a lot of things that weren't as sharp as they could have been, simply because of how long I've been out of the game. But I think in February will definitely be better than my last one. And I just want to stay active and keep the momentum going.
Yeah, totally understandable for any sport for not doing it for 2. I know you can do as much outside the ring, but it's completely different getting in there and doing it for real. I suppose naturally there's going to be a little bit of ring rust. And obviously follow you on social media. You look like an incredible, powerful puncher. Are we expecting a lot of knockouts along the journey?
Basically, yeah. I promise that anyone I'm fighting, me not getting them out of there is definitely me not trying. If I don't get him out of there, it's not for want of trying, because I hit hard. But yeah, I just enjoy it, man. I really enjoy it. And I love the competition of it. I'm not a violent person by nature, but I thrive on competition. And I love it. I love to compete.
Gentleman out of the ring. Beast in there.
That's it.
I love the honesty though, because you hear some people talk and it's all like, we want to get the win. That's the most, which understandable, but I love the fact that you're going to go in there, you're going to look for the knockouts.
That's it, man. Like, of course the win is important, but at the same time I believe generally it would take someone of a really good caliber for me to kind of think, okay, cool, that I'm going to have to focus on just winning the rounds no matter what it is. But I genuinely believe 9 times out of 10 against anyone I'm in there, I have the capability of knocking you out. Do you know what I mean? And as the rounds go on, I just get better.
How important is it though, even though you've got that powerful punch, to also make sure that you've got the boxing ability? So as you sort of go through the ranks, you've got the knockout, but you've also got the ability to go the distance if needed.
Of course. I think for me, it's a big thing because, like you said earlier, I'm a latecomer to the sport. So for me, picking up as much boxing skill and boxing IQ is a key thing for me. That's where the sparring, that's where the drills come in. And the fact that I'm constantly in the gym, even when I don't have a fight, I'm just taking over, it gives me a chance to kind of work on my craft and break down the little nuances. And these things like that allow me to have a quick rate of progression over a short period of time. Do you know what I mean? It's just a constant application. And yeah, my boxing skill is a key part of my preparations for sure.
No, of course, we spoke, I think it was last week or a couple of days ago, and you said that, you want to be busy this year. You've had a couple of years out of the ring due to the pandemic. I think you said you want to have at least like sort of 8 to 10 fights. I think you said something like that. So if we're speaking sort of like this time next year, I take obviously you want as many fights under your belt as possible.
100%. By the end of the year, if I can be at least 6-7-0, I'll be a happy man. I'll be 3-0 in February now, so I'm just pushing on literally. And yeah, man, like you said, activity for me right now. So I just want to stay on the horse as much as possible and just grab my wins.
Of course. Now I know that there's not been an opponent confirmed for February, so it's obviously we can't talk about the opponent. However, you've said it's all going well. Obviously, as soon as you get one, I imagine it's going to be obviously uploaded on your social media. So we keep our eyes out for that. Any pre-fight rituals? Any sort of lucky pair of pants or anything you do? I know a lot of footballers put a certain boot on for the other, or anything like that.
Nah. Never do none of that. Nah. I've always just believed in my preparation generally. So I don't really have a specific sock or underwear I like to wear. But I think for me, what do you think? Nah, nothing crazy really. Nah, nothing crazy. I don't have any major ritual. Nah, I don't think so.
Yeah, you don't come across as someone that I'm sure you do get nervous, but that you don't come across as someone that worries too much about getting in there. But I suppose that obviously goes down to preparation as well. If you've done everything you need to, then why would you not be confident going into a fight? Hello?
Yeah, sorry, the connection went funny. Go
on. No, sorry, I was saying about preparation. If you have done everything you need to do, then I suppose you are going to be confident going in there. I was just saying, you don't seem like someone who lacks any confidence or sort of like going into a fight.
Nah, I just think at the end of the day, like you said, it's all about our preparation. And the whole reason of focusing on my prep so much is to make sure that I'm fighting out I'm supremely confident. I've always gone into a fighting ring as a professional with supreme confidence because I believe in the preparation I've done leading up to it. I've over-prepared, if that makes sense.
What about the actual day of the fight? How I know we're touching on nerves. Do you get you must get some sort of nerves before you step in there, or?
Of course. But it's a funny one because on fight night, the moment's here now. So really, I'm just kind of focusing on keeping calm, staying relaxed. I do what I need to do, medicals and medical checkups and whatnot. And the whole thing is literally just keeping myself in a cool, relaxed state up until it's time to get ready. And the time I prefer, or the time I'm happiest with, is I'm about to get in. Because at that point, what I'm thinking about is, okay, it's time to go. You know what I mean?
Time to knock someone's head off.
Basically.
I suppose as well, that's the job of your team to keep you focused, keep you calm. So all you need to take care of, is getting in there and putting on a performance. And we wish you the best of luck come February. However, we would like to get your opinion on a couple of other heavyweight issues and stories going on at the moment, if that's all right with you.
Yeah, go on, man. All good.
Just want to get your opinion on the AJ Usyk rematch when it happens, how you see it going.
I think Joshua still has an ability to win. I think him changing tactics will be key for the rematch. I don't think him losing was a fluke or a knock per se on Joshua because Usyk is a quality competitor. He's an undefeated fighter, if I'm not mistaken, and his pedigree speaks for itself. You could even argue in some ways he's almost like a modern day Holyfield in a sense of a cruiserweight who's now coming up to heavyweight and dealing with bigger, heavier opposition in good fashion. Joshua can definitely beat him. A change of tactics, a bit more aggression, but a bit cool. I think there has to be a mix of aggression and calculated. It can't just be him going for broke because he's going to probably get clipped himself. He has to box smart, but at the same time, he has to be very assertive. The best one I can think of is kind of DILLIAN Whyte versus Povetkin, the rematch. A similar fight recently where Povetkin was getting thrown around like a ragdoll. And basically, that's the kind of tactics Joshua will need to employ to have success against Usyk. Yeah,
like you're saying, it's not a street fight, it's elite level heavyweight boxing. Do you feel like, as much as people almost are sort of looking to see a way fronting Joshua to win, maybe Usyk doesn't get as much credit as he probably deserves?
1,000,000%. I think it's a mix of factors. One, he's not a big name over here in UK. And two, he was campaigning at cruiserweight for most of his career. So that was not necessarily a division that is well glamorized as the heavyweight division is. So all these things means his achievements have been overlooked in some ways. But I think, first of all, the difference between a heavyweight and a cruiserweight is not as big as people think. There's a difference, but unless you're, let's say, a Tyson Fury, the difference between a Luis Ortiz and a Usyk is not a lot. Luis Ortiz weighs in like 109 most of his fights. He's not a huge heavyweight, for example. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? And I think the difference is that the really skilled cruiserweights, the really good cruiserweights can make that transition to a heavyweight and be successful, as Usyk's been proven.
I think as well,
So,
when Usyk moves so well, how hard is it to fight when you've got someone in there that is just so good on their toes and they're making it impossible to be clipped?
definitely. It makes it a situation where you basically don't want chasing all the time, and you're chasing, and at the same time you're basically walking into fire and eating a jab. It may not be a punishing punch, but you're eating a jab on the way in every time, and you're trying to hunt him down, you're trying to cut the ring off, and you're trying to do what you do, but at the same time you're constantly being met with almost like a bee sting every direction you take. It's very difficult to do it, but I'm sure doing it in a pro ring over 12 rounds is even more difficult. But that's where his tactics will have to make the adjustments here. Do you know what I mean? Like maybe him cutting the ring off more would be good. Certain things like trapping his feet and trying to hold him in corners will make a difference. So these little things, but I'm sure him and his team will figure it out.
Yeah, we want to see it. Hopefully, it comes around very quickly. It's a huge fight. It's so intriguing just to see what he does. And what about just a couple more from me? The Fury-WHYTE situation with the split. What do you make of that?
Mate, I want Fury to give Dillian Whyte his shake. I know he wants to grab as much money as possible. I understand that. But for the fact that the man's a mandatory, he deserves his fair shake. Obviously, I do understand it's a business. And at the end of the day, in a business, a man eats as much as he can. It's just the law of the jungle. But just because I'm rooting for Dillian, I've always liked how he comported himself. I think I would like to see Dillian get his 45%. And Fury being Fury, it shouldn't really make a difference in the fight, to be honest. No matter the split, Fury being Fury should be able to get rid of him. And if he can't and Dillian succeeds in the night, then fair play.
And how do you see that one going? What's your prediction?
It depends what Fury turns up. If the same Fury turns up as the one that turned up for the recent Wilder fight, he might actually get knocked out and lose. But if Fury can kind of get that mix between the Fury that came for Klitschko and the first one and the Fury of the second fight, if he can find a nice balance in between, he will give Dillian Whyte fits, and he might even stop him late. But it has to be him boxing smart and kind of punishing him for trying to even get in range. But if he tries to make it a slugfest like he does with Wilder, he will play into Whyte's hands. Whyte's used to it. That's kind of how he won most of his fights.
Again, another massive, intriguing fight. And just finally from me, back of last year, we saw Chisora fight Parker. Brilliant fight. There's a lot of people sort of a bit on the fence whether he should sort of call it a day or carry on. I know, he's come out and said, he wants to carry on. He loves the fight game. What about yourself? Would you like to see him fight again this year?
I've sparred him before. I like sparring him because he's a workhorse. He's a horrible spar, but I think it's like his hard work. But I mean, I think that was like when I last sparred him was almost 3 years ago now, and I think the Derek Chisora now has added more miles to the clock, a bit more shop worn, and he's not wanting for money. I think him fighting depends on the opponent. He's gotten to a stage of his career where he can kind of be selective with who he fights. I'm hearing rumors of him fighting Deontay Wilder. I don't know if that's necessarily a good move for him, but he's a big man. I'm sure he can make his own decisions, but he just needs people around him that care about Derek the person, not Chisora the money machine. You know what I mean? So people that care about him might look at him and say, listen, you need to call it a day. You've had enough. Because I think that Parker fight, the last one especially, took a lot of punishment. And I personally don't like to see him taking punishment like that and continuing on. So, but we'll see. He's his own man, as he's always proven. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think financially he's pretty very well off. He probably doesn't need to step in the ring again if he doesn't want to financially. But I think it's clear to see from interviews he just loves getting in there and having a scrap. And he just, I suppose, from a promoter's perspective, he offers value for money. So it's a difficult one. But I think you're right that he just needs good people around him, so he makes the right decision. Absolutely. But listen, mate, it's been an absolute pleasure getting you on the channel. First of many, I hope, we look forward to following your journey. I'm glad that you're back in the ring again. And I'll keep a very close eye. So when you get an opponent, I'm sure we can get you on maybe after the fight now and to go over that one, mate.
No, definitely, man. I appreciate it. Cool, man. Nice to see you. Nice to meet you, Tom. First time seeing you face to face, it was a good one.
No, likewise, mate. We're looking to come to shows, over the next few months. So hopefully we can meet in person as well. But again, mate, we wish you all the best going forward, and thanks ever so much for your time.
No problem, man. Have a good one.
Yeah, top man. Thank you very much.